Okay, let's start. So this is the topic that we're going to discuss for this meeting, which is the review of related literature and studies. Right, lesson objectives. At the end of the lesson, the students can describe the importance of review of related literature and studies, identify the different processes of reviewing literature and studies, and follow the right processes of writing review of related literature and studies. Mm, right, so literature review. When we say literature review, it is an account of what has been published by other researchers. According to Fink, he defined it as a systematic, explicit, and reproducible method for identifying, evaluating, and synthesizing the existing body of completed and recorded work produced by researchers, scholars, and practitioners. So, when we conduct a research study, related literature plays a huge part in conducting a research. It is because your knowledge about the topic that you are studying will be coming from the information that you have gathered, which are relevant to your study. Like, for example, the study of the topic that the group of Reniel wants to conduct is about the emotional responses of the gamers when they play online games. So you need to search for literature review about um, existing knowledge that are related about emotions, emotional responses of people when they play online games, and you also need to find literature review about online games because these are the topics that are connected to your study. So writing literature is not just paraphrasing nor summarizing, but you need to synthesize, which means you need to um, summarize, make your own according to your knowledge, the published works of the experts that you have gathered. It means that you need to write what you have understand about the contents of those relevant literature. So, but before you synthesize, you need to evaluate first if the literature is relevant or related to your study because there you can find so many things um, that you may include in your paper, but you need to evaluate first. You need to analyze if this literature can be used for your study. The review is also useful in identifying areas that can be improved and knowledge gaps that still needs to be addressed. This guides the planning and implementation of their own work. Thus, think of a review for literature is deemed as a jump point, the point where your research starts and your first opportunity to immerse in your topic. So, by reading a lot of related literature about the topic that you're interested in, it will give you the advantage in forming your statement of the problem, which means that by reading a lot of literatures, you will know what will be your research gap. What's the problem that would you like to address in your research? So you will know which areas that need for improvement or aspects that should be addressed that previous research studies failed to answer, meaning you need to look for the loopholes of previous studies. A literature review is a process of compiling, classifying, and evaluating what other researchers have written on a certain topic. It can be a partial component of a research undertaking, but it can also stand alone as a self-contained review of writing on a subject. So you search for related literature, then you select if they are relevant, then you categorize them according from one topic to another. So the main topics, the subtopics, um, your related literature can be the starting point on writing your research. Okay, um, have you checked the outline that I give to you, the layout of your research. If you notice, in written literature part, you can see merong naka-outline siya, merong main topic at saka merong minor topic under those major topics. So, okay, I'm going to show you ha, so that you will ano. Can you see the screen, guys? Halimbawa, ito, this is just an initial title ha. The title that I suggested to you can be changed during your um, outline defense, but it depends upon the suggestion of the panel members. But initially, this is the title sa grupo ni Fria. Forms of cyberbullying experienced by selected, depende na sa kanila kung sino yung magiging participants nila. So since the topic is about cyberbullying, so ito yung related literature nila. First is you need to search for literature about cyberbullying. So since merong specific na theoretical framework na finalo, which is ito, according kay Willard, Cyberbullying by Willard, 2006, she identified many forms of cyberbullying, which are flaming, harassment, denigration, impersonation, outing, trickery, exclusion, cyberstalking. So, yung gagawin ninyo, you need to look for related literature about cyberbullying. And then after that, maghanap naman kayo ng related literature about flaming, harassment, denigration, impersonation, so on and so forth. Same sa inyo, sa research ninyo. Kaya halimbawa, ito. Another example. Ito halimbawa, kanila Riniel. Emotional responses of selected online gamers on playing video games. So, ito yung rated literature nila. Since you are conducting a research about the emotional responses of online gamers, tapos yung theory base ninyo, according to Hemenover and Bowman, about video games, emotion, and emotion regulation. So, ito yung topics ng related literature that you need to find. First, emotion, mood, and emotion regulation. And then you need to look for related literature about video games and affective experiences. Tapos, ito na yung mga emotional responses ng according to the theory. Entertainment as affective reaction, discrete emotional reactions in gaming, mood management in gaming. So, ito yung mga topics ng literature na kailangan hanapin para sa study. So, example, yung complete study na, wait lang, I will show. So, halimbawa, ito. Yung title nito is Psychology-Based Software Design Strategies. Yung main theory niya or yung theory base is the software design strategies of Neiman 2017. He enumerated several software design strategies. Merong variable rewards, gamification, social reciprocity, user investment, infinite scrolling, illusion of choice, yun siya. So sa related literature, meron tayong topics about software design since the study is dealing about software design strategies. Software design, and then the specific strategies, variable rewards, gamification, social reciprocity, user investment, infinite scrolling, illusion of choice, and yan. So, it's not necessary, halimbawa, since yung the main proponent of this theory is Neyman, it doesn't mean that you just have to look for related literature that are written by Neyman. So you can also find related literature about each topic na hindi yung main proponent ninyo. So kahit sinong author, as long as legit yung reference ninyo. Kaya halimbawa ito si Carlson and Larson 2016. So hindi si Carlson and Larson yung main proponent ng theory. Pero meron silang study about infinite scrolling. So okay lang yan siya include. Gets? Okay, let's go back. The review of related literature relates your study to a larger body of literature. It sets the context of the study and explains the significance of your research problem. So, by looking at various related literature, you can contextualize the territory of your research, meaning what is your research all about? So, you need to provide the background of your research. You can describe the significance of your study. Okay, by reviewing prior work, you improve your knowledge and understanding of the topic, know about developments in your research area, and familiarize yourself with the theories and methodologies not yet used in previews. So you can acquire a lot of knowledge about the topic you want to study by reading a lot of literature. So you can provide several analysis in your study if you are well equipped of the knowledge concerning about your study. So the improvements, new findings, new results, you need to find the uniqueness of your version of your own study. So because it's possible that it's not you who studied first of your interested topic. So you need to find what's new in your study that cannot be found in previous research studies. In both qualitative and quantitative research, the review of related literature serves as a foundation for the development of the theoretical framework and a conceptual framework of the study. So, since many quantitative research projects are geared towards a theory or model testing, it is important the literature review sufficiently establishes the basis of your theoretical framework and conceptual framework. So, Hmong literature review can be useful when it comes to forming your framework, the theoretical framework and conceptual framework. So your um, thesis will revolve around your literature review since this is the part wherein you can gain knowledge about how you conduct your study. Say framework, it's like the model, it's like the system that you need to follow when it comes to conducting your research. It's like the summary of the process that you're going to follow in your study. So which means that the review of related literature should adequately review theories, especially those from which the hypothesis will be derived. A well-written review helps establishes your credibility. Starting with a clearly defined research topic and set of questions is requisite to literature review that will necessitate revision of the original topic and question. So your initial plan in writing your research might change along the way based on the literature that you may gather, depending on the available information and the concepts, ideas, and established theories that are related to your topic. So you should understand when conducting a research, you will experience a lot of revision. So revise, revise, revise. Ganyan talaga mag-conduct ng research. So excuse me, you need to set your mind that you need to check your research. Kailangan siya what do you call that? Um, what do you call this? One of the process in writing. You need to preview. You need to double check which part na kailangan i-improve sa paper. Okay, researchers are expected to locate, read, and synthesize literature from reputable resources. Highly reputable sources include books, academic journals, dissertations, government documents, conference papers, and reports of research organizations. You can also find related literature in Google and Google Scholar. So it's very important for you to know where you can find the valid sources for your study. So you can find in Google Scholar. Um, sa Google Scholar, you need to look out the number of citations. Kaya halimbawa, pakita na ko sa inyo. This one. Um, Emotional responses. Okay. Halimbawa ito, check yung cited numbers. Kita ninyo itong cited by 1,945. So, which means that this specific study is being cited by various experts or researchers na 1,945 ka research study or research articles. So, you need to be mindful na dapat para valid yun ang research article or ang reference, dapat 50 above. So ito 1,945 meaning reliable ito na source. Ito rin 598 to 1,525. Ibig sabihin mga reliable na sila na sources. So pwede nimo sila magamit. And the purpose of literature review. The purpose of a literature review is to provide an overview of what is known about the topic to assess the strength of the evidence on that topic. So we have summary, analysis, and synthesis. So this the process on how you're going to review your literature. The literature must be as recent as possible. If possible, except for theories, it should have been written in the last 10 years. So the validity of a reference or related literature should be 10 years siya. Kaya halimbawa, since we are 2021 naman, ibig sabihin, yung related literature that you should look for, yung pinakamatagal is 2011 kasi 10 years siya. Kasi possible marami ng changes. But you can use related literature that are written mga 1990s, 1980s, early 2000, as long as there are no other literature that can be used for that specific topic. Or merong there are no other theories established that can be used for certain topics. Halimbawa, merong study sa linguistics na about call that ito na study. Yung cooperative principle of the maxims according to Paul Grice. The one I think na-discuss natin yan sa oral com. Yung theory ni Paul Grice about cooperative principle, may mga maxims, 1980s pa yun siya, but still relevant until now because there are no other studies or theories that can be used for that specific context sa study ni Paul Grice. So, pwede siya magamit kahit 1980s pa yan, 1990s, early 2000, as long as there are no other existing theories established for that topic. And you can also use mga outdated na as long as na-update siya ng mga recent studies. Kaya halimbawa, let's look for research article. Kaya halimbawa ito, this specific line. Studies of music and emotion have been conducted off and on since psychologists' birth at the end of the 19th century, according to Gabrielson and Justin, 2003. Although 2003 pa siya na-conduct, but since na-update siya ni Jocelyn and I don't know how to pronounce this specific research article on 2008, meaning pwede siya ma-update sa current nga sa halimbawa 2012 ni siya na-conduct na study pero nag-cite siya og theory ni Jocelyn, halimbawa ito, Jocelyn and Sloba, 2001, early 2000s pa siya. Pero na-update siya pagka 2012. Example lang ha. So when you write your rated literature, ang itsura na niya, wait lang. I'm going to open a word. Pag mag-cite ka og rated literature, kuha nimo sa isa ka article. Tapos secondary source lang siya. So you need to cite the specific author as the author who cited this theory or this rated literature. Since ito yung study ito ni Jocelyn Jocelyn and pag-pronounce. Halimbawa, 2012 siya. Meaning na-update nimo ang related literature. So, ana mag-in-text citation para ma-update ang related literature. So, kini sila, secondary sources na ni sila. Kini si Cohen, Brunner, and Bont and Hoskins because your primary source kini nga authors. So, meaning na-update ni sila na related literature even though nasulat siya tong 2001, 2002, 1990. So, okay lang na siya even though nilapas siya, na siya sa 10 years. This is the concept map. It's like the spider map, spider web map of writing related literature. So everything, when you conduct a research study, everything started with your literature review. That's why, remember, when I asked you to come up with a topic that would you like to um, conduct sa yung study, look for a theory first or literature review so that you have a basis sa iyong study. Kasi if you don't have a basis for your study, which is tong literature review, then it's hard for you to conduct study. Walay safety net sa inyong research because your literature review is considered as a safety net para naikahakungan when you analyze the results of your study, you know how you're going to evaluate, you know how you're going to support your claims in your study. Okay, how to write your literature review. First, literature review. It means what do scholars say about your topic? What are the ongoing debates within your topic? What ideas do you agree with? Why or why not? What ideas do you disagree with? Why or why not? What hasn't been said about your topic? Itong literature review is not just about copying and pasting of literature review that you can find in your references. You need to remember what I've shown you earlier. Yung process, you need to summarize, you need to analyze, you need to synthesize. Meaning you need to provide your own understanding about the topics doon sa na-gather ninyo na literature. So you need to provide what are the statements of the authors or the experts, what are their arguments. In research, you need to consider all the angles, even if they won't agree with your stand or position about the issue that you want to deal with. You need to consider that. Kahit hindi mag-align ang inyong perspective. Okay, what are the perspectives about your topic? Yung mga perspectives ng experts or authors. Okay, halimbawa, what do experts in the field say about X? Okay, the result of Hester's study contradicted the findings of Smith. So, as you can see, pwede siya na dili jud dili similar ang findings sa experts or researchers or authors. So it's really totally fine if they have contradictory opinions about the topic that you are discussing with. So you need to consider all the angles. You need to consider the other side of the coin. Ano siya? introducing a standard view and placing that view within the scholarly debate. So, halimbawa, economists generally associate an individual's absolute poverty to the individual's expected benefits of legal and of illegal activity. Therefore, absolute poverty may create the perception that one's skills are relatively more productive in criminal activity. So you can see the words being highlighted. In addition, however, so meaning um, you need to provide what are the accepted perceptions about the topic that you want to research. And you need to contextualize that perception in the world of scholarly debates. Okay, moving from a general claim to a specific example. So in order to give full understanding about the claims that you are citing in your paper. So meaning may pagka deductive siya. So meaning you need to provide the general claim, what's the general idea in your topic. Then you need to provide specific examples. Okay, this one. In contrast to these views, other researchers hypothesize that community and family structure are linked to property crime only if they are associated with relative poverty. For example, Carroll and Jackson's empirical analysis rejects a direct link between family structure and crime. So merong general idea and then meron siyang specific na idea. Using meta-analysis. So when we say meta-analysis, you need to synthesize all the statements, all the findings of the experts. So you analyze their works and write your own understanding about the reading. You need to make sure that the gravity of their statement is still the same, meaning um, the meaning that being implied or stated by the authors should be the same when you synthesize your own understanding. So you need to maintain the thoughts they are implying or expressing. So ito yung meta-analysis. As you can see, maraming authors sa in-text citation. So ibig sabihin, the author of this specific excerpt, nagbasa siya ng different writings about these authors na related sa crime studies niya. Then attributing sources. Citation styles vary widely, but there are two general ways to integrate source material into your review. Say, attributing sources within the text. Ito. Scholar X, example 1988, acknowledges, agrees, argues you can use a lot of a lot of verbs para sa attributing sources within the text. Hindi lang Scholar X states that, so hindi lang siya states that or describes, you can use a lot of words. You can find dictionary is very useful when it comes to writing your research. Meron din tayong attributing sources within the citation or yung in-text citation. Halimbawa ito, transformational learning creates an opportunity for learners to experience a life-changing moment which will alter their worldview. Tapos naka-parenthesis. So these are the two ways on how to attribute your sources sa related literature. Then you can also use quotations. So using quotations or direct citation, if we cannot maintain the gravity or statement, if we paraphrase it. So it's not that genuine anymore if you're going to reduce the gravity that is being implied doon sa related literature. So you can use direct quotations. Then using pointing words. Pointing words refer back to a concept you discussed in the previous sentence. Avoid ambiguity. However, if you use this or this alone, it should be absolutely clear what idea your pronoun is referring to. You can name the pointer as follows to provide confusion. So we say using pointer words, you need to be clear when it comes to using these linguistic cues or signal words kasi you need to make sure that it should be clear what you are referring to. So that should be easily identified kung sige napasabot. Halimbawa, this debate is not settled because each of these theories has both empirical support and opposition. So you may question which debate kasi yung nakasulat lang is this debate. So you need to make sure na this specific part when you use pointing words, kailangan yung preceding paragraph niya or sentence niya kay klaro na modo siyang gina-point out sa kining specific line. Okay, ongoing debates within the topic. In contrast to these views, our theorists postulate a negative relationship between absolute or relative poverty and property crime. General and oppressive poverty abates criminal activity by lowering the absolute return to crime. So according to authors. Other authors claim, so as you can see, ongoing debates within the topic means that you're going to present the arguments about the topic, whether they agree or disagree. Meaning, even though contrasting siya. As what I've mentioned earlier, it's totally fine if authors may not agree to their opinion. So you need to consider all the angles. You need to consider the other side of the coin. Okay, introducing an ongoing debate, summarizing a debate that presents opposing views. So as what I have mentioned, disagreements among the experts of the issue or topic that you are dealing with in your paper is totally fine. So that you will know what are the things that you may consider kasi possible iba yung magiging resulta ng study ninyo. And remember last discussion natin about qualitative study, when you analyze qualitative study kasi is highly contextualized, meaning it's always possible that when you conduct a qualitative study, you have different results from previous studies. Kasi iba yung context niyo, iba yung participants niyo, even though you have the same topic. Kasi iba yung experience ng mga tao. So possible, merong opposing views. So it's totally fine kapag ganun. Okay, placing your research in the debate. Clarify your argument by placing yourself within the conversation. Allow your voice to be an integral part of the conversation. Show how you have built on other scholars' ideas to reach your own conclusion about the topic. So in simple words, your own work should be noticeable. So kailangan your own voice should be observed when you write. So readers should know which part is your own work, which part is your own understanding based on the information that you have gathered. So we have drawing conclusions from concepts found in the literature, which means that you need to maintain the basic parts in essay writing. There should be introduction, there should be body, and there should be conclusion. So you need to synthesize and evaluate the sources that you have gathered. So you can see the example mentioned. Therefore, even individuals who could earn a lot, who could earn a better living in a legal endeavor will be predisposed to criminal acts if they perceive a justified deprivation on relative to a reference group in the society. It's like the conclusion of the gathered literature. Exposing the inadequacies of current theory. So you need to also provide the lacking of the current theory because that will be the possible gap in your research, or that will be the possible problem that you're going to address in your research. Okay, that is the part where you can fill in through your own research. Opening a gap in the research. So you need to expose the problem in your research. So you cannot make a research if there's no problem to solve it in the first place. So meaning you need to make sure that you need to express what is the situation, what is the context, what's the problem that should be solved, should be addressed in your research. Okay, exposing gaps in the literature. Okay, the inadequacies of the knowledge provided by your um, related literature can still use that as a starting point to question possible gaps in the research. Exposing gaps in the research and positioning your own research. So you need to explain why there's a necessity for you to conduct a research because there are unexplored areas or aspects in your research that you think you can address. So even though your study is already conducted by previous researchers, but the thing is, there are loopholes or there are parts in their studies that are not being answered. Meaning, pwede ito ninyo magamit uh, as an opportunity to build your research gap. Okay. Say literature review positions the research in terms of the real world and puts the research into context. So meaning you need to contextualize your research in the real life situations and can be used for a specific purpose. Provides a conceptual and theoretical framework for the study. So literature review can be used to support the organization or the structure of the analysis of your research. Okay, to support or validate your claims or your arguments, which means that, as what I've mentioned, ito yung safety net ng research ninyo. It discusses the research issues. In doing this, it demonstrates that the researcher has understanding of the issue in terms of existing literature and research, identifies and discusses the limitations of earlier research, identifies and discusses the gaps in existing knowledge that the research will fill, that leads to the definitive research question. So since you need to provide your own understanding of the literature by presenting a synthesis, analysis, and evaluation, you need to have your comprehensive literature review. So you also need to provide what are the areas that should be addressed through additional research studies. So that can be addressed through related literature. So you also need to provide what are the unexplored areas and problems in the current setting. So you can formulate the right research questions of your research. Okay, review of related studies. Itong review of related studies, it's still part of the RRL. But very specific ito siya kasi ito talaga mga this part, these are the research studies conducted by researchers. Ito, okay lang to na, ito kasing literature review, anything, either came from a book, from conference, kahit mga interviews, pwede ito magamit na literature review. Pero ito sa studies, these are the studies conducted na related sa topic. Okay, review of related studies. Related study serves as the basis of the analysis of results because it enables the researcher to compare and contrast his or her findings with those of past studies. The results of a study are verified by similar findings or negated by different findings of previous researchers. So you can use the related studies if your findings are consistent with the previous studies or may pagkakaiba siya, or differences. So that there's a point wherein you can make an argument or debate. So you need to explain the relatedness or and the difference of your study. Okay, the gathered studies are related to the present research when they use the same variables, subvariables, concepts, or constructs. They have the same subject or topic of the study. Okay. When looking for specific related studies that you can use for your research, pwede i-consider ninyo kung sa itong mga variables sa study, ano yung mga sub-variables, what are the concepts, what are the topics na related. Not necessarily the same yung theoretical framework ninyo or theory-based ninyo as long as related sila yung topic, may pagkakapareho. In writing a review of related studies, the following data must be indicated. First is the name of the author, the date and the setting of the study, the title, and the salient findings, which are, ito yung pinaka-importante sa review of studies. What are the results of the study? Ano yung findings? Because that's wherein you need to point out their relatedness and their differences. Kung ano pagkakaiba at pagkakatulad. Okay, halimbawa ito. This is specific. This is an example on how to write a related study. Okay, the study of Schmerz, Lieven, and Tomasillo about this force particle and belief reasoning in the case of German dog revealed that it is often described as a marker of a common ground, yet it indicates that the speaker takes the hearer not to commit a proposition that is already part of their common ground. Another findings of the study is the primary function of the extended variant of German is that of revising a common ground belief, and it concerns the discourse status of the common ground belief. Example, whether it has to be expressed explicitly for successful comprehension. So, in writing related studies, there are two paragraphs. First paragraph is you need to provide the author. As you can see, the naka-blue, and then the title. Ito yung red. Discourse, particles, and belief reason indicates, and then the result of the study. Second paragraph naman, you need to provide the relevance and relatedness of your study and your cited study. So first part, kung ano yung pagkakatulad nila. Itong naka-violet. Second part, itong color brown. This is the part wherein you need to indicate or point out their difference, kung ano yung pagkakaiba nila. But in your study, sa research na gagawin ninyo, no need to provide related studies. Literature lang tayo. So no need to write this one. Okay, according to Laurie Anderson, literature is the safe and traditional vehicle through which we learn about the world and pass on values from one generation to the next. Book saves lives, according to Laurie Anderson, which means that we can gain knowledge even though it's not necessary anymore to experience things, but through reading, we can experience what the authors experience. We can gain the knowledge that they gained by reading their works. So that's the end of our discussion. Okay, do you have questions, clarifications? By the way, klaro na ta sa inyong sa inyong study na i-conduct. Naka-outline na to siya. So you should follow na lang to sa inyong study. Do you have questions, clarifications about our topic or about your research? It's already 2:31. So if you don't have questions anymore, think it's a wrap. That's the end of our discussion. I'm going to end the conference now. Bye guys. Thank you for joining.